Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Valad, and welcome to today's webinar, Images from Template within Snagit, part of our Learn One New Thing series. If you're not familiar with those, we host regular hour-long webinars on a variety of topics, including learning all about Snagit and Camtasia and Audiate. The Learn One New Thing series came from, well, attendees like you who really wanted us to hone in on one or two tools, and that's exactly what we will do. This is a 30-minute or less, and it's almost always less, webinar on this exact topic, and we'll talk all about that. But first, let's do a couple housekeeping things to get ourselves up and running. First of all, number one question, is this webinar being recorded? Yep, this webinar is absolutely being recorded, and you will get a link to it in the email that you use to register for this webinar in about 24 hours. However, if you're antsy and you really want to see it early, if you go to techsmith.com to our webpage and you go up to the support page where you can find our webinars, of course, you'll see all of our upcoming webinars, including the one you're attending, but there's also a link right down here on the bottom left that says looking for previous webinars. You can click on that and check out all of the recordings of previous sessions we've done, including all of the previous Learn One New Thing sessions. I always like to show that because it's helpful for people that want to know. So we have a whole series of TechSmithies that are joining me today to help you out. There's a chat that's open at the bottom, which you've all found, to be able to talk with each other and talk about cool things that you're using Snagit for. But all the questions we want put over in the Q&A section, because I have Jenna and Julie and Meredith and Nick, and Paul and Sage and Troy here to help me out answer questions. We can't promise we'll get to all of them, but if you want a question looked at, please put it over in the Q&A section and we will do our absolute best. We also have live transcription turned on. If you would find it helpful to have closed captions working, you can click on that button at the bottom of your experience. Zoom does a pretty good job of live transcribing my voice and everything we're talking about. So if you find that helpful, go ahead and toggle that on as part of your webinar experience. We also put this up like, hey, if you're an existing Snagit user or you're on a previous version, did you know when you upgrade, you get a pretty significant discount? This QR code will help you out. And we'll also put this link available to you later on if you're curious. Last but certainly not least, if you want to find out which current version of Snagit you're on, you can open up the editor and go to the Help and About Snagit. I'm using the latest release of 2023 on a Windows machine, so everything you'll see here will be shown in that version. And I lied, there's one more thing. My good friend Ryan and member of our customer education team here at TechSmith has created a brand new Snagit video challenge. So if you're learning about Snagit and you're like, geez, I really want something to do with all this new information I've got, the bit.ly is down there at the bottom, and we can also link to that later on. But we only have so much time to work on what we're doing today. So let's pull up Snagit, because today we're talking about images from templates. So this is one of those things inside of Snagit that a lot of people ask about when we show it, but not a lot of people venture into. And it really comes down to taking multiple images that you have in your Snagit library or in your capture tray and bringing them together into one unified shareable document or shareable image. And what happens is if you're an older user, a user of an older version of Snagit, not an older user, I guess I'm an older user, you could always take items from your tray and drag them up onto your canvas here and put images together that way. It works, it's just not elegant. And it's certainly not that professional polish that we're coming to expect with being able to share those images. That's where the Snagit team has added this button, and I believe we added it in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can check me on that. But the Create button up here opens up two distinct possibilities of content creation within Snagit. The first one is images from template, which we're going to talk about today. And then there's also video from images, which I did in a Learn One New Thing session. Geez, it's got to be 2 weeks ago or so now. You can definitely check out that recording. The way the images from template works, there's a couple of different ways to approach it. And I'm going to start with the most basic way, which is clicking that Create button and choosing Image from Template. When you click on that button, you're presented with this menu, which has a bunch of templates that are built into Snagit that allow you to pick from different layouts, different formats, different colors to get yourself up and running with creating an image. There's a series of categories here that you can choose from, and we're going to I'm not going to worry about these because I grab them based on my individual needs, but you have that available to you as well. What it will do is it will allow you to select a template that you want to start modifying and creating as your own. So today, what I want to do is do something really simple, and it's going to be this 2-step portrait style template, because I want to do a quick comparison image. And here's what that looks like. When I just make sure I have the right one selected, the one I want, and then I click the create button, it brings it here right into my Snagit editor, and it leaves a few options open for me. Just about every aspect of this image is customizable. For example, add title here. I'm not going to send something out that says add title here. I'm going to double click on that and type in my own title, which is going to be thumbnail ideas. That's what I wanted to change that to. And I'm not a big fan of the black font, so I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to choose from the color wheel. And I have the entirety of the colors of the world available to me, but I really want to focus my color of this on the topic at hand, which is going to be creating audiate thumbnails for upcoming webinars. So I'm going to grab my eyedropper here and I'm going to drag it down into my recent tray where I have the purple for audiate sitting right here. So I'm going to click on it. And now really quickly, I've sort of customized my experience by changing the font color to that purple. Then it comes up to grabbing the images you want as part of your experience. So this first one here, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it up into the drop zone, which is sitting right here in this particular template. I let go and it's dropped into the position ready to go. And I'm going to grab my second one and bring it up into this drop zone. So I've got 2 different versions of a thumbnail, bigger picture, a little different text. I have these ready to be shared, and I can add a little context to them by just going to, add caption here. So I'm going to say longer title idea, and I'm going to type short title, big Jason. So very quickly, I've put 2 images together where I could share this thing out now and have people take a look at it. I could give the context in the email or in the Slack message, or if I put it in Microsoft Teams or wherever this image ends up, to be able to share it out to the world. I can also still lean on any of Snagit's annotation tools, right? If I wanted to, use my arrows tool, which I kind of still like the pink, I can still annotate the images just like I would before. I'm going to do this one right here, just because I like to be able to write as few of emails as possible. I detest email, so the more I can do with pictures, the better off I am. Now, in its basic form, when you create a template, there's a couple of things that come into play. One, you're going to have some drop zones where you can put images in. You're going to have the customization available to you for text and stuff like that. There is some parts that come in automatically as well. It says it shows who it was created by. So down here on the left, it says created by J.Valad. That's me. It shows the date it was created, which is today's date. And then it shows, made with TechSmith Snagit. I can still change any of those aspects that I want. Maybe I don't want it to say made with TechSmith Snagit. I don't want that branding on there. I can simply select it and delete it off of my screen. We have the ability for you to always customize what the name looks like as well, and I'll show you that in just a second. But at its most basic stage, that is taking a template that exists free within Snagit and creating an image that I could then share. And how would I share it? Well, there's lots of ways to share it. My 2 most common ways is I click the copy all button up here in the upper right-hand corner, and more often than not, I'll just copy it and paste it where I want it to go. In this case, I could paste it in the in my Slack messages with my teammates, or even better, I want to have a conversation around this image. I want people to vote on it, give me feedback. So I can actually use the built-in share link button here in the upper right-hand corner, which shares it to screencast.com, which everyone gets free as using Snagit. I already have the link available here, and I am actually going to pull that up and paste it live here. And I'll actually paste it right in the chat to everyone, so you can all click on that now. So this image is now sitting in screencast.com, and people can comment on it. They can say, nice use of purple. That's my name because I hadn't signed in. That's my fault. This is why webinars are live, right? I already had this signed in earlier. And now I can say, nice use of purple. And I can, use a little arrow here to show where I'm talking about. And now when I submit this, I have the ongoing thread. And Teresa said, very cool. I'll give Teresa a thumbs up for that. Thank you so much. That makes taking images like this, easily sharing them. I already have the free opportunity, the unlimited storage of images there in ScreenCast. I have that capability. The other way people tend to use templates is, so the way I showed it was, create button, image from template, and then I dragged items up into it. There's another way you can do it that people use quite often. Let me show you what that looks like. For me, I've got three basic slides here that are going into a generic presentation. If I control click or command click and select all of those, these three I want to share, and I right click on them, there's an option that says combine in template. And when I click on that, it's going to open that same menu up, but it's generally going to default to images and templates that have spaces for the number of images I selected. Now this one's a little different, and it's not filtering. So this is where I say Paul or Sage. It's not filtering based on the three images. It's actually showing me 2 image options and 1 image options, but that's something we can fix later. I'm going to grab one that's really defined by 3 images. So I'm going to choose this basic 3 steps portrait. I'll hit next. And now it gives me a little bit more control over what that looks like from an initial standpoint. I can give a title for the images. So this is a SUI presentation. Maybe I'll type it right. Presentation. There we go. SUI stands for Simplified User Interface. That's a real basic term. And then I can title each of the slides themselves, each of the images, percentages. We'll say new graph. Icons, question mark. And I was like, oh, you know what? This was supposed to be the first image. I can click on that and just reorder them right here in this section. I can zoom in on them to see the detail. If I'm like, this is the right slide, right? All these things are controlled by me. And when I'm ready, I hit combine. And now I have that same format, the same images that I put in there, and the order of them that I wanted already set up in a document to share. So people are doing this for comparison. They're doing it for job aids. There's lots of different ways to utilize this tool set. So subtitle Jason's new PowerPoint. There we go. So these are real basic templates that I've shown so far, right? There's other ones that have colorways and different ways of approaching that. So I want to show you something else that you can do within Snagit's templates here. If we go back to that create button and choose image from template, there are a couple of things you can do here that I want to show you. One is, remember when I said it automatically adds the created by line at the bottom? You actually have control over that here on the bottom left underneath this settings button, where you can say, I want my image to fit the entire image. I want it to fit the entire drop zone. So when you drag images up, if it's wider or smaller, taller or shorter, it'll fit the way you want it to. Or I could change it instead of my system one. I want to put my full name because I want credit for what I'm doing. Okay. The other thing is you have a lot of templates available to you. And some of these you might not see in your system because I've downloaded a few. Well, where do you download them from? Well, right here it says you can either select a template or download more. And when you click on download more, it opens up this. This is the TechSmith assets for Snagit, and you can create an account here and download more templates. So for me, let's pick a fun series. There are a lot that are free. Okay, that we call them starter ones. And you can actually come over here to the left and deselect the premium ones and hit apply. There are free meme style templates available to you. And then if you actually have an account with TechSmith assets, you have availability of even more templates that you can add. Like, oh, these certificate ones are kind of cool. I'm going to just click on this one and say send to Snagit. It's automatically dropping it over to Snagit right now. And now I have that brand new certificate. I can hit create, and then I can build out a certificate for Employee of the Month. I don't know, team, would it be presumptuous to make myself Employee of the Month? It probably is a little presumptuous, but just like any other template, I have control over different aspects of this, right? I can do my drag image here. I can rename the template. I can change the naming convention. All those things are possible within this template that I am creating. So let's go take a quick sip of water, and I'm going to jump over to our questions document because our team has been furiously answering questions, and I want to make sure that I am getting questions answered as well. So question is, what are the plus symbols used for? Let's see, Joel's asking for the plus symbol. So I'm thinking what you're talking about when we have an item open like this is the pluses here is to add a brand new section to your template. So I started with 3 images. Shucks, I wanted a 4th image. I can click this plus button here and I can choose from different styles of inserts. So if I grab another insert here, I have another drop zone available to me, the numbering automatically updated. And maybe I want to tease out a webinar that's going to happen later this year. Maybe I'm not going to talk about it really loudly. I'll just show you the icon and the thumbnail that I'm working on. But I can add those plus buttons in for different sections of the document. So that's typically what those plus buttons are used for. Hopefully that answers your question, Joel. Paul's asking, will my team be able to see my template in ScreenCast as I don't have Snagit? Yeah, that's okay. There's so many cool things about ScreenCast. That's my favorite part is, as you saw, the link I put in the chat, you could send that to anybody, and you don't need to have a ScreenCast account, and you don't need to have Snagit to be able to have a conversation around that concept or around that topic that's being shared. So if you share an image up there, you can have people have a conversation around it. If you share a video up there, you can have people have a conversation around it. They don't need to have an account. They simply have to indicate a name so that you know who made the comment, so you can have back and forth on that. So that's a great question. Very, very cool. So there's a lot of questions here. I'm actually going to undo that adding a section here, and I'm going to go back to this idea here. Questions have come in about how to fit things in the drop zone. So right now I've got them perfectly, thumbnails perfectly fit into those drop zones, but maybe I have them in the wrong order. Well, I can click on the image itself and drag it up here to the top, and I can swap those around. Undo that one here. So drag to swap. I can drag the image itself, and they have now replaced themselves in different places. If I want to make a smaller image larger, I can double click on the image itself, and I now have what I call radial buttons, but I can resize the image because maybe I want the focus to be on just this part of the title. And when I do that, it's drawn in and allows me to see just that section of the image. What's really helpful is I don't have to be constrained by the size of the image. I can shrink it, enlarge it, depending on what I want to have done. Maybe the conversations around the gradient of the purple. Yeah, those are real conversations I have in the TechSmith. Maybe I want to really draw attention to the with audiate effects part and have people discuss those as well. Good questions. Appreciate those. Let's see here. A couple of other questions that have come in. What if you want to remove it after trying it and then you decide against it? So you have, once it's still inside of Snagit, any of the templates that are here, you can manipulate them to the nth degree of your ability and then share them out later on. If you have templates sitting in your template manager here and you want to get rid of one, that's a good question. I haven't had an opportunity to find out how to delete them. There's probably a way, but more often than not, I'd rather have them here and available to me, especially when you can sort by categories. If we just want to go to the step ones, those are available to me as well. So let's do a quick recap of what we covered so far. You can create an image from a template in a couple different ways. My favorite way is still to go to the create button, choose image from template, grab the style I want, and then drag items from my recent tray, especially if those images are recent. You can also multi-select images from your recent tray and right-click and choose combine in template. Or you can go to your library. So the library is over here in the upper left-hand corner. You can choose your library, which is the history of all your images, all your videos, stuff that you've captured. And I can grab a couple of different images. Maybe I want to grab this one, and I'll hold down my control button, and this one, and maybe I want to grab this one. So I've grabbed ones from, geez, over a month ago, and then last week. I can right-click on those, choose Combine in Template. Brings up that same template menu. We'll go with this one here. Bless me, I'm so sorry. I'll click Next. It goes right to that customized screen where I can say items from my library. I hit combine. It's going to combine them into that template that I chose, and then I can make modifications as I see fit. It's fun to do it this way, in my opinion, because it still gives you that flexibility of grabbing images. And maybe I don't want to show you that thumbnail. Maybe I want something else. Maybe I want to, I don't know, maybe I was pricing out Disney trips, and I want to share with you the pricing of how expensive Disney is right now, because that's a real thing. Disney is expensive, like really expensive. I can change that in the drop zone and expose the different parts depending on my basic understanding of how I want it used. People were asking, when did templates first come out? If you have Snagit 2020 and beyond, you have the ability to use the create button and choose image from templates and video from images. So great, good question. Let's take a look real quick. Make sure that if you have questions, you're throwing them in the Q&A. We have already answered 55 questions because my team is awesome. This is the one that comes up the most. What Charisse asked, what if I want to create a multi-page document? Do I just keep using the plus signs to add sections? So Paul, I'm going to say your name out loud. I know Sage is answering that question right now. That is something we've heard a lot, right? People want to be creating multiple page documents with the templates. We hear you. We absolutely hear you. And it is something we are exploring currently. So that's one thing. Another question is, well, what if I want to be able to save a customized template in Snagit? We really hear you, and we are really listening to that one. Stay tuned. Because it'd be nice to be able to have maybe a different image here. Instead of TechSmith Snagit, you want your company's branding, or instead of the date, you want something else there. We've talked about that. You, of course, can modify a blank template and leave it in your system tray to be able to work off of later by right-clicking on it and choosing duplicate. And then you have, your workaround for being able to create a custom template. It's not elegant, it is effective, but it is a way you can reach out and do that as well. All right. So we're getting close to the end, so I want to make sure people know that when you leave today's webinar, you are going to get presented with a 1-minute 4-question survey. I'm asking very kindly if you would take the time to fill that out. That's how I develop new webinars, especially the Learn One New Thing series. It's how we were able to say, this would be a helpful thing. So thank you for filling that out. We read the entirety of the responses, and I share it with this team because they were so helpful. We appreciate it. Let's see. Elisa, yes, this is being recorded. You will get a recording. Don't worry. So let's see if there's any other questions that have come in from the team. They're not posting the questions because they're busy answering your questions, which is awesome. Bonita says, when I capture a photo, why does it create an extra photo in the tray? It's possible that when you create something like this thumbnail image, which is in the SnagX format, which is seen up here at the top, that means it's an editable Snagit file. If I save it out as a JPEG, if I go here to, I don't know, we'll save it locally to my desktop maybe. And it gets saved as thumb, and it's saved as a JPEG. When I hit save, it keeps the original format here in my tray, but it will also add a JPEG to my recent tray as well, as I want to use it later on or bring it into another image. I have that capability as well. So let's see, any other questions that I'm going to hit on right now? So make sure that when you're in a template, the questions keep coming up. I want to be able to crop or resize. If you select the image itself by double clicking on it, you will get the radial buttons to allow you to resize it. Sometimes they just kind of hide themselves in the borders, so you have to take a quick look. That's something we can consider, making those a little bit easier to see, because frankly, in a template, there's a lot going on, right? You have so much customization available to you. There's a lot of different buttons and things that you can click on as well. So we'll make sure we take a look at that as well. All right. Well, I think we've got questions that are being answered. Gail says, can you replace background or graphic colors with the fill tool? I can find and change some, but not all. That's a great question. So I know for a fact that when we go image from template, there's a couple that I use kind of regularly, like this industrial one. So there are color aspects of this particular template that I know I can change, like the add title here. If I select those shapes, they do have color capabilities. So if I want to change it to that purple we were talking about before, and maybe this yellow one, I want to change to, oh, I don't know. We use Snagit blue. So I have blue and purple. There are aspects of some of the templates you can change. As far as like doing a fill tool to be able to fill in the background, you can make those manipulations to the best of your ability, however you want. Most to all of the aspects of the templates are customizable. We're constantly looking at and getting feedback on what sorts of things would people want to be able to edit, and how do we want them to be able to make it theirs, so when they share it out, it's representative of their idea, their company, or their project that they're working on. So appreciate you doing that as well. Yeah, and good question about Thomas. Hey, is there a way to change yellow to another color as you drag your mouse? Well, that's part of some of sort of the accessibility. We can definitely look into that as well. So we can share things, right? We talked about sharing it to the screencast by just clicking share link. You can also share it to any of the image destinations. If I want to drop it in a Word document, if I want this image sitting in a PowerPoint presentation, I can do that as well. But I'll tell you what, I live in these two buttons, the copy all to paste it right into Slack if I want to, or the share link to send it right to screencast so that I can engage conversation with my teammates and have them give me some feedback, because I'm not a graphic designer. I'm a trainer. I'm an instructional designer. I know how to teach things, but it doesn't mean they're going to look great from a color perspective. That's why I'm so appreciative of the members of my team. Ladies and gents, we are at the end. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. As a reminder, you will get the recording at the end of the about 24 hours, but you can always find it probably this afternoon, couple hours, give me a couple hours, to the Snagit or techsmith.com/webinars and go to the previous webinar recordings, and you'll see those there as well. So I want to say thank you so much to the team, and thank you all for being here and helping out. So my team, of course, thanks again to Troy and Sage and Paul and Nick and Meredith and Julie and Jenna. Appreciate you being here. Thanks so much for being a part of today's webinar. Hope to see you in another one soon. Have a great day.